Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Book Club Conversation Series 7. Within this series, we take a deep dive as we discover the power of words while we reflect on the writings of Cindy Trim in her book, Commanding Your Morning. For reminders and notifications each time we go live, be sure to like and follow this page. Of course, some of you may know, if you don't know, my name is Roy Rollocks, Impact Strategist at VisionWorks Solutions. And tonight I'm sitting in for the illustrious host, Alina. In this series, entrepreneurs and professionals will be joining live in studio. And of course, we are excited to have you, our book club partners, all those listening on the social media land, joining the conversation through the comment section. Of course, we would love for you to do so. Please take a moment again to like this video and share the link, please. We depend on you to get the word out for the great things that we share here every Tuesdays and Thursdays in our book club conversation, right? So Book Club Conversation Series 7 is made possible through the support of Launchpad Consultancy. Let's take a moment for a word from them. Hello and good evening again. Roy Rollocks, as I shared earlier, a pleasure to be here sitting in for our illustrious hostess, Alina. And with us we have again, it's such a pleasure to see these bright faces. I feel like a king among empresses. So with us tonight is Empress Janine, Empress Renma, and on audio we have Empress Chanel. I'm not too sure who else is going to come in. You know how it goes here at Book Club Conversations. We may be joined by people else. So be ready to hear from them and tune in the comments section. So as we do, we always do, we peer into the words of Cindy Trim. And as always, she has presented us with some powerful principles in these paragraphs. How you like that one?
Nice.
And it's really powerful. Every line, when you think about what would be your takeaways and what do you want to apply, there's so much. Every evening I go through it, and I'm just highlighting every word, every line. It's really powerful. Of course, as we begin, we always like to start with the awakening, right? So what did you read in this chapter? And I'm throwing this out to our panel here. What did you read in this chapter that compelled a deeper dive? And of course, we encourage you who are listening in on social media, you can write in the comment section as well for those that are reading the book or who have read the book. And we're on to chapter 6 this evening. All right. So, and I'll leave it open. What encouraged you to take a deeper dive in this particular chapter?
Well,
I'm happy to start this
Excellent.
because this chapter is just meant for me, I should say. And it was when she said, look carefully, then how you walk. Live purposefully and worthily and accurately, not as the unwise and witless, but as wise, sensible, intelligent people, making the very most of time, buying up each opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be vague and thoughtless and foolish, but understand firmly. And what I gathered from that is that, time is precious, and what we do with it, it makes a great impact in our lives. Being intentional, as you always say, Mr. Rollins, be intentional. And that's a way, that's a woke me, shook me up, it did everything. So that's my takeaway so far.
Thank you very much, Chanel, for that. It's so true. Intentionality is definitely a theme when you think about being able to rise up and command your morning, it's something you have to be intentional about, especially for those who don't like to get up early. And we'll talk about that a little later in this chapter. Anyone else care to chime in? What you read that compelled you to take a deeper dive?
Well, I'll jump in.
Okay.
As you say, Raw, so many things in this chapter just jumped out at you. But the first thing that really hit me, that awakened me, was when she said, learn to harness and maximize the potential of your thoughts and your words. And I know we discussed, I believe, in the second chapter where she talked about harnessing your thoughts, you know. But now she's telling you, we need to be intentional. We need to learn how to maximize every thought, every word that we see, because, this is going to sometimes it's a make or the break in a decision that you're going to make. And
Yes.
I that
Yes.
just made me think like, oh my gosh, sometimes you harness your thoughts. You're like, oh, that's a negative thought. I don't want to go down the road. Oh, that's a really good idea. But did we maximize it? Did we really squeeze every last drop out of it? Did we really look beyond just what we see into what it could be? So, I had to pause, and I was just lying there on my bed, and I was like, oh my God, I really need to now pay even more attention to my thoughts and my words, how to bring
Yes.
the best out of it. So that really hit me.
That yeah, thanks so much for that, Renman. It's so true because there was one analogy that the words are like seeds, so it's an investment. So certainly it's an investment that you expect a return on. So if you don't invest wisely, you're not going to reap the kind of reward that you want in the time that you want. So we certainly want to be careful and want to get the most out of what we say and what we do in our lives. So thank you very much for that, Renma. Janine, I guess it's over to you.
Okay, well, for me, yeah, I take some abuse in this chapter because
Wow.
I am not an early riser at all. I am a night owl. I can go till the wee hours of the morning, and it is something about the night that calms me, and my creative juices flow at night.
Yes.
However, I do understand and basically live by what she says about ordering your day, because I
Yes.
take the time at night to plan what is going to happen the next day, so that when I do hit the ground, I'm going and I get it done and I come back, right?
Yes.
To again plan for another day. So the rising early, I do know that there are benefits to that, but I don't know. It's not in me, but I do find that even though I may not be an early riser, I'm more organized than others, because I do take the time to organize my day so that I finish on time with the others. So
Yes.
there
Yes.
was a
Yes.
give and take for me in this chapter, and it was
Yes.
also a reminder that tried, at least for 2022, try to work it the other way and see how it happens for you this year, because I'm ever changing. So it's a
Yes.
reminder for me to try it again and see if there are benefits for that for you this year.
Yes, I'm happy that you brought that up, Janine, because it's something I reflected on myself. You hear so much about people having different energy times. So some people, there are times I'm a night person. You'd hear someone say, or I'm an evening person, or I'm a morning person, right? So I was really very interested into hearing your thoughts, as the panel here, on this whole idea of waking up early. Is it so much about being early, or is it that we in order of priority, there's certain things we need to do first? So whenever we get up, you understand, we have an order, we have a way in which. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. What do you think about that? I'll throw it to Renma. What's your thoughts?
Well, I could be like Janine because getting up early was not my thing. Um, I remembered, when we were younger and in church and you read, the Proverbs woman and, she rises while it is yet night. I used to be like, clearly that is not me. And I could tell you I was forever late. I was Mrs. Johnny completely. But I realized it's not trying to do everything. It's just get up 15 minutes before, 10 minutes before, you usually would. And then you stretch it to 15, to 20, to a half an hour, to an hour. And you just kind of realize, like, I am a person, I know it have people who could function on 2 hours of sleep, and I envy them. That is not me. I need a minimum of six. So I know I need to set my day. I need to finish at a certain time, get to bed at a certain time, so that when that alarm rings at 3:30 or 4 in the morning, I'm not tired, I'm not groggy, because I set things
Yes.
in order from the day before, from the night before.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and even in getting up, what do you do when you wake up? Is it that you get up and you hit the ground running? Because what I've discovered, and I just always tell people, thank God for technology. Um, in those quiet times, I would put on my headset and I'm listening to something inspirational, some motivational speak, or I'm listening to an audiobook, listening to worship music, and sometimes I'm just listening to what it is God is saying, what it is I
Yes.
am saying. So I found those times to be really, really peaceful, really calming. It kind of helped me get in touch with me, learn to listen to me, learn to listen to what's going on around me. And
Yes.
I heard someone said that what you listen to the first 20 minutes of the day sets your day. So when I heard
Yes.
that, I was like, okay, let me put that to use. And it really does work. That 20 minutes when you're now getting
Excellent.
up, is it you're studying? Oh my God, it's so cold. Why I have to get up? I wish I didn't. Why the meeting couldn't be at 10 and not at 8? Um, and so, it's kind of just taking that for me, taking a little 20 minutes to just order my thoughts. It really made a difference. So now for me, getting up early, I mean, due to COVID, I kind of lapsed a little bit, but it's still not as bad as it was. So,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that's my thoughts on it.
So yes, interesting because Cindy in this particular chapter, spent quite a lot of time delineating all the various patriarchs, the Moses, the David, even some of the apostles, even Christ himself, and that discipline of getting up early. But we do live in a very different time. So for example, there are some people who are on shifts. So is it about getting up early? And I'd be very interested to hear in the comment section, those of you, who have that practice of getting up early, and what are your thoughts, right, on it? But before we do that, if we have any comments, let's hear from Chanel. What has been your experience with getting up early, rising early?
Well, for me, I'm a mom of four boys, so I'm always up. But I'm sleeping, I'm up. So there's no rest. There's no
Yes,
rest for me per se like that, but my rest is mental. So when I read it, I took it as a mental note. Like it's about the way we carry that balance in life. What we do, how we handle it. So I'm sure you can hear any little background, the little baby. That that is the reason why I'm up, right?
yes,
So
yes,
it's our mentality, the way that we think, the way that we control our day, the way that we handle everything that comes and the challenges that come our way, that balance, that perfect balance of rest and work and play and enjoyment. Taking that time
yes,
to enjoy life, taking that time to
yeah,
enjoy, because even work could be something enjoyable. It's everything that we do, we must find joy in it and have that peace of mind while we are doing it. So rising early does not necessarily mean, I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning or I wake up at 6 in the morning for me. It means that when I do awake, I come out of bed with thanks and praise that my eyes are open. I can breathe, I can live, I am alive today. I see my family, and just give that time to praise and then start my day, using, claiming that this is God's day for me and enjoying that
yes,
moment.
yes, yes. Thank you for sharing that, Chanel. I would say for me that rising early has worked for me, I must say. And I realize the time of the day, that time period seems to be work best for me, so I can certainly identify with it. I won't say that I've been doing that very religiously, no, but when I have done it, it has worked for me. One of the thoughts that compelled me to make a deeper dive, and it's something that Janine mentioned, was the whole idea of ordering your day, right? Requires the ability to prioritize. And I realized that, prioritizing could be a little challenging sometimes, right? Because these things sometimes we have to prioritize are both important and would appear critical, you know? And one of the things Cindy Trim says in the book, she says that it requires ability to differentiate between busy work and kingdom business. And I guess what she's saying is that there's a lot of stuff that we could be doing, but how do we differentiate between those things that help us move towards our potential and our vision and our goals and our dreams, and those things that could be good but take away from it, you know? Some person said it another way. You have to know the difference between something that's good and something that's right for you, you know? So I'd certainly like to get your thoughts on how are you able to make the distinction, and how have you handled distractions? You know, what has your approach? Have you identified those distractions? And I'll give you an example while you think about it. For me, I realize one of my distractions is I like to help people. So I could get caught up. A day could begin and I get a phone call. Oh, this person has a need, so I'm helping. And then somebody calls. And then before you know it, I'm wrapped up in all these, various needs, and I haven't really tended to my priorities. You see what I'm saying? So even though it's a good thing, I have found that it can sometimes be a distraction. So what has helped me, I have learned the art of saying no, or sorry, or not now, or maybe another time. And that has helped me to balance out these priorities. How has it been for you, ladies, empresses?
Listen to me. See that power of saying no? You also need the power to, how can I put this? Not feel guilty to say no.
Yes,
Because there would be some people you say no to, and they try to guilt trip you still into getting things
yes,
done for them. And you
yes,
have to realize that you can't pour from an empty cup. I need to do
yes,
this for me in order for me to help you. I may be able to help you, but not today, or not this minute, or
yes,
not this hour. Let me get what I need to done, and then I can surely come and help you. That's not a problem. But recognize just the same way that you need to have your stuff done, I also need to have my stuff done. And
yes,
it's not from being mean. It's not from a spirit of meanness, but um, I need to be organized. I can't function in this organization at all.
So
At
what would
all.
you say, Janine, would be your a key distractor that you can share with, something that you have recognized over time has been one of your distractions? Sometimes these things could be addictions to it. It could be
Mhm.
YouTube, it could be whatever it is. What would you describe as a big distraction for you that you've had
A
to deal with?
big, and I don't want to say social media on the whole, but sometimes you can be in WhatsApp and you answer, just simply answering someone, and then while you answer someone, somebody else answers you, and you're trying to answer them while complete the conversation with this one, and time can go. So I have
Yes,
had to learn one is one of my, actually I think it's the only resolution I have this year, is to have less screen time on that phone. I haven't
yes,
always been successful, but I try. I try.
yes,
It really
yes,
is a distraction, and as you say, it can take you away from what is important and what needs to
yes,
be done, what he commands to
yes,
be done. So if I
yes,
don't take that time in the morning and order my thoughts, because I use app. Well, I use an app to help me discern what needs to be done today. And I say I have another book that I'm reading right now, Breakfast with God, and I take a 5 minutes and I sit with that and my coffee, and I go through that, and I sit and I say, okay, I receive what was said to me today. Let me open the app now and see what's going on. What does I need to do today? And then sometimes I cross my fingers like, okay, I hope nobody says anything else to me today, and I get going. But if I don't take the time the day before to order that, to make that list, ooh,
yes,
it's
yes. You
it's
get
it's,
caught
it's
up.
tough. It's tough,
Okay.
especially when if I get on WhatsApp. It's tough.
Okay. Wow. Thank you, Janine. What about you, Renma? What is there any distraction that you can share, and how have you dealt with it?
Um, for me, my biggest distraction is YouTube. I'm not big on Facebook. I go to Facebook maybe once every 2 weeks. But YouTube, I'm always going through YouTube because I'm like, oh, I'm a curious person, so I might see something and I'll be like, oh, how does that work, or what is that, or how do they make that? And then you see videos and recommendations, and I'm not looking at the 45-minute clip, it's the 1 minute and 25 seconds, it's the 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and before you know it, 2 hours has passed, and I'm like, okay, one more,
Yes,
one more. So sometimes I have
yes,
to be like, nope, nope, that is a
yes,
reward
yes,
for when you finish your work. So I kind of use it
yes,
like
yes.
that's my treat, but you
Oh,
have
I
to make
see.
sure you finish your work. And
Yes, you
so,
got it.
so it have days it does get the best of me, but I'm like really, really working towards it. And like you said, Miss Sarah, sometimes saying no, um, sometimes just telling somebody no, and even I think choosing your words. Like I remembered um a friend of mine when he started back working, he's doing security and he did not want to work on Sundays. And every time they asked, he said, I can't work on Sundays. I can't work on Sundays. And so he's sharing the challenge with me. And I'm telling him, I said, is it that you want to work on Sundays? Like if there is a need or maybe you want to make extra cash? He said, no, not at all. And so I told
Yes,
him, I said, well, here what? Instead of saying you can't, because when you say can't, it's like you're telling them if I get an incentive, I'll change my mind. Just tell them
yes,
flat you don't work on Sundays. You're not
yes,
wrong. You
yes,
deserve
yes,
even God rested one day for the week. Um,
yes,
you're not
yes,
wrong. You're not asking for too much. And he did that, and that was the end of the conversation. And that made me
yes,
really realize sometimes just changing that one word in your vocabulary, like we all know
yes,
Alina.
yes,
Alina never says problem. She says challenge. Just
yes,
just changing that
yes. So you
one
frame it.
word changes how you phrase it, changes how your mind sees it. You don't see a problem. You don't see this big brick wall and that's it. You see some obstacle you could overcome. So,
Yes.
these are the little tips I'm always looking for and I'm always trying to implement just to give me 1 inch closer to the goal.
To the goal that you want to achieve, thank
Yes.
you. One of the what has helped me, and it's something I learned from a coach, particularly when it comes to persons who really demanding my time, is that I would say something like, what you desire from me, or what you want, or what you have to say is very important, and I really want to give it the focus and the time and the energy it deserves. You understand? For me to do that, this time, and name a time, would be a best time where you can have me 100%, and we could focus and we could get the best out of it. That helps sometimes. Some people, right? Some people, but it helps to reframe it in a way that they don't take it personal, So that has certainly helped me. Chanel, we know you're there.
Before
You
we
care
move on
to
to Chanel role, can I say
sure,
something to
sure,
Renma before I forget?
sure.
Renma, you see that recommended on YouTube? Stay away from that because that will take you down a rabbit hole and will drain your time. I've
Yes,
learned to subscribe to the ones that I do like, and that helps me to focus and see what it is I want to see from them, and it actually helps with time management. But when you go on that recommended, you must know you have 2 hours to spare because that will go.
yes, yes. Yeah, I remember reading a book once, and it actually spoke to the concept of the ping. And I think that's actually in the title of the book. And the whole idea is that some of these organizations have worked out the psychology of this ping. In other words, you hear a notification and it just alerts you, oh, there's a like, oh, there's something new, oh, there's a WhatsApp, and they've literally worked this thing out. So listen, man, we maybe we're part of another experiment. Anyway, no conspiracy theories here tonight. So Chanel, I know you're there listening. Are you still with us?
Yes, yes, yes. So for me,
What
I
about
would
you?
say
You encounter distractions, and we not and the children don't count here, right? So don't bring that in.
I would not say I encounter distraction. I purposefully distract my mind. So
Okay.
that is a so from the dating, I believe my day is like a ticking time bomb. Everything has
Yes.
to be happening in an order. So you don't really get a moment to rest. So I will purposely say, okay, I'm going to sit in this moment and I'm going to watch this YouTube video. Distract my mind from everything that is going on, the chaos, the everything. Take a deep breath and then move forward. So that is my little thing. So it's a purposeful distraction.
I love that. So plan distractions, you know. So you plan it. I love that. You set a time for it and you stick to that time. We hope, right, Chanel? I like
Yes,
Chanel. Looks like
sometimes
she's
just
going to
an actual minute that you need.
Okay, great, great. Thank you for that. Now, one of the things we always do in this session is we look at our power quote. So as we move into that segment, what quote in the chapter would you say resonated with you? And I'll probably start here. This is actually the heading of one of the chapters. And uh, it's just something we know all the time, but somehow when I read it, she said in the book, God and that meant so much for me. I found that was pregnant with so much meaning because it sets the tone for me, right? And from the very beginning we saw it, from creation we see it, and so many scriptures speak to it. Paul talks about things should be done in decency and in order. When we look at how the ecosystem is built, how the weather system is built, we look at gravity, we look at all these, everything has some order to it. So to me it paints a picture of what we need to do in our lives. And one way of examining our lives, when we see things out of order, we know that, listen, man, we need to ask the question sometimes, is this in keeping with what God wants for me? And begin to speak those things, like Cindy Trim says, into being, all right, for life. So that is the quote that caught my attention in this particular chapter. So I'll open the floor to anyone else to share their particular power quote and why it resonated with them. And you don't also have to rush it.
For me, when I read it remember I just spoke about the other book that I was reading, Breakfast with God, and in that book, they spoke about, I can't remember who the person was, who the ruler was at the time, and he had amassed a great collection of art. He was an art collector, but nothing compared to seeing the real sunset. And when he died, he left his estate to his widow and to the rest of his relatives. He instructed them to be more aware of the beauty that is around them. So when I read the chapter today, I saw, while your thoughts are the colors you use to paint the background, your words are the brushes that you use to fill in each detail. And I was like, wow, that kind of line up for me today. So I was thinking, um, look at that. I always have a grand scheme. Okay, this is what I have to do for the day, or this is what I have planned for the future. But I need to drill down, take those brushes and fill in the fine lines just to tie it and make it come together and make it work for me to get that done as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible. So for me, that resonated with me. While your thoughts are the colors you use to paint the background, your words are the brushes you use to fill in each detail. So, I have to choose my brushes a little carefully.
It's interesting that resonated with you. Would you describe yourself as a creative, Janine?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so it's interesting that caught your attention. And one of the things that Cindy Trim said in the book, Janine, spoke to the idea of, she said it like this: I won't even begin addressing the issue of creativity yet because we need to address order, right? So what is your perspective on that relationship between order and creativity? In other words, some creative types would think, man, let's just let it hang, just let it swing. Some people believe, just let it emerge. I'll just live my life and however it happens, it happens. That's the creative flair. How has that been for you?
That can work, but you must have some order in order for that creativity to flow. If around you is
Right.
cluttered and in disarray and chaos, then the creativity in you is blocked. It cannot flow out
Yes.
of you. You need to put some order in your life in order to move or to create a way for that creativity to come out. If you can't do that, then, and it's a it's a quote I used to say sometimes, as you said, how it hangs, how it swing. But
Yes.
even with that, there must have been some order before. If you have to hang the curtain, you have to know what curtain you're hanging. You have to know,
Yes.
what rod you're putting it on, what window is going to hang. There's some order. So while when
Yes.
you hang it like this because it didn't plan properly, I mean, there is still some order there. So try
Yes. Yes.
to what's that word just came to me and left. Try to create that order. Try to create that order for yourself and watch yourself thrive. I love it.
So that's thank you, Janine. That's a word to those of us who may be listening and may not be that planned, organized person, and you believe, listen, man, I like it like this. I just let it go and let it sway. Uh, yes, Renma.
Yes,
Yes, your power quote.
my power quote was, don't just let things happen, make things happen. And it kind of
Yeah.
ties into what we're talking about because I have met so many people, and in conversations with them over the years, they'll be like, I just go with the flow. And I don't know where this response came from, but one day I just turned to one of them and I said, going with the flow leads you over waterfalls. Because it's like you
Oh,
jump in a
I love
boat on a
the
river.
quote.
There's no oar, there's no
Yes, no,
sail,
Renma.
there's no
Yes, no,
map.
Renma. You have to repeat that for us, please.
That is
Could you
a
say that
gem. I
again?
like that. I like that.
So when
Say it
somebody
again, please.
says that they just go with the flow, my response is, going with the flow leads you over waterfalls.
Waterfalls. Wow. Yeah, yeah. Food for thought.
Don't ask me how that came out. That just came.
Yeah. Yes,
But
yes.
I mean, and I've known these people over years, and some of them are busybodies. They're always busy. They never have more
Yeah.
than 2 minutes to chat, but there's no progress. And then there are others where you haven't seen any growth, and it's like 3 years, 5 years. So it doesn't matter how busy you are. Um, if that's kind of like how you live, then you're just kind of drifting and you're waiting for things to happen. And then when they don't happen, you're mad, you're frustrated. So when she said, don't just let things happen, make it happen. It talks about being intentional. It talks about order.
Yes.
And even as Janine was talking about order, I remember listening to a woman's testimony, and she was saying, God was telling her to go and clean up her mess. But in her head, she's an organized person. So in
Wow.
cleaning the house, she went to her office and she opened her office drawer and she's neatening back up what is already neat. But in her office drawer, she has toothpaste because she buys the value packs. And God is
Yes.
like, toothpaste doesn't belong in your office drawer. That is an organized
Yes.
mess.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess all those clothes I have in the living room is because I know we all do it. We all have something that we put where it's not supposed to be. And so, it really made me be more aware. It's not just about being neat and tidy, but it's also having that order and that discipline. And
Yes. Yes.
it's not as hard as you think it is. It's only hard because you think it's hard. So
Yes. Yes.
that
Yes.
really, so that really that
It,
really
it reminds me of that little tune that they sing for preschoolers with bits of paper lying on the floor. You know?
yeah, make the place look tidy, pick it up.
Yes. There's a place for everything. So thank you for that, Renma. Chanel. I know Chanel is there in the background with another
Yes, I
powerful.
am.
Yes, Chanel. Let's hear you.
So mine is he wakes me up in the morning, wakes me up, open my ears to listen, to one ready to take orders. And why that resonates in me is that I am ready to do his command, I'm ready to do his will. I'm ready to, let him take control of my day and do what is ought to happen. So then my day is purposeful because I'm walking in my purpose and doing what he bids of me. So that is
Yes,
my
yes,
takeaway, my power quotes.
yes, yes. Thank you so much for that. And we can see how it's all connected to the whole idea of God being a God of order. You know, He sets the tone. He sets the perspective of what should be in, and there's a time for everything. We know that scripture. There's a time for every purpose under the sun. So there's a time and place for everything. Now, one of the other segments we look forward to here is the whole idea of transformation. We want to always share nuggets that can help persons in terms of how they apply to their personal lives or the business life. All right. So, what would be some of your wisdom for transformation that you can share with our listeners and those tuning in? All right. And remember, of course, we encourage you to share your thoughts in the comment section as well, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. So, who will jump in? What's your wisdom for transformation you'd like to share?
I will be happy to start.
Okay, Chanel.
So, so my wisdom to share is that write down everything. Get that schedule, get that, your vision board, what you want, set it out into the
Mhm.
atmosphere and allow God to take control, but allow him to take control in his timing and not your timing. You can't tell God
Yeah.
how to work. So allow him to do his job. So just put it out there. Write down everything, what you want, what you desire, what you're thinking of, and just set the pace for the day, set the pace for the month, and have it there. Schedules are
Yes.
everything.
Yes. Yeah, it reminds me of that scripture in Habakkuk that says that, write the vision and make it plain so he that reads it could run with it. So I always believe that there's something spiritual that happens when you move something from your head and you begin to put it in paper. You begin to see things that you just can't see in your mind space. So thank you for that, Chanel. Who will be next?
Okay, I can go next. Mine was is what Renma used as a power quote, I think. Excuse me. Don't just let things happen, make things happen. And it was a reminder to me, yes, while you may have your list and you see what needs to be done for the day, try to make it happen in a way that causes some sort of significant shift in something, whether it be in somebody, whether it be in business, whether it be something at home. Do when
Yes.
you attack that list, make it happen. Make it happen in such a way that it causes uh, and I don't know how to describe it, so I'm just going to show you. So it has a sparkle. So,
We
so
get the theatrics tonight. Thank you.
be intentional. Be intentional. Make it happen. Make it happen in the way that only you can make it happen. Do it.
Yes.
Get up,
Yes.
look at the
Yes.
list, and do it in the way that only you can do it. Make it happen.
Yes. Thank you. So, Renma, what can you share so that our listeners will sparkle? What are the adaptations you can share?
Um, I want to share two things.
Yes.
I remembered I was listening to something YouTube again, and they were sharing the title of this book called "Eat the Frog First." And
Okay.
what they were saying is when you set out your list, do the most difficult tasks first. Get that
Okay.
out of the way. Because a lot of time we tend to go for the nicer stuff, and then when you look at the clock, it's like, oh my god, it's 3:30. You have a half an hour to get this task done, and it seems so huge and it's so daunting. So they say, tackle the hard stuff first, the stuff that you think is like, I don't want to do that. Just get it out of
Yes.
the way so you have the rest of the day to enjoy it. And the second thing I would say is, make the schedule, but um, and be intentional, but also try to have that balance because sometimes we get so caught up with scheduling. This needs done, that needs done. But if you don't take that a 5 minutes here or 10 minutes here to just sip a cup of coffee or tea or something like that, to kind of just ease the stress levels or give you a little peace of mind, recharge your battery a bit. You by the end of the day, or even before the day is finished, you're going to be so overwhelmed. So that's something I would encourage people, try to look at your schedule. Yes, we all have things we need to get done, and they all are important in one way or another. But but still, if there is a opportunity, take a 2 minutes for yourself or 5 minutes for yourself. Don't be like me and work through your lunch.
No,
I get a lot of
no
work for
about that.
that. You know, you
Yes.
know, take a lunch and that's what I would encourage our viewers out there.
Thank you.
Can I
I
say
have another
something to
question.
that too? Oh, sorry.
Sure, Janine. Go ahead, Joanne. Joanne.
As Rena was speaking, I remembered something. Yes, the lists are important, but remember not to make it too grand so that at the end of the day, if you see things undone, you feel disappointed. If you know that you have 6 things to do, but the reality is you could only get 2 done, put the 2 on the list and schedule the rest for another time. Don't try to overwhelm yourself because again you're going to want to pour from an empty cup or you're going to be trying to pour from an empty cup.
Yes.
It's not going
Yes.
to work. You're going to frustrate yourself and then excuse me, eventually you're going to abandon lists altogether. Be
Yes.
realistic about your list. Be realistic
I,
about it. I
I,
like
I
remember
like
to
that.
remind them of that too.
I like that thought, Janine, because it says to me that you finish if you put make a list of things that are reasonable, it means then that you get that sense of accomplishment and that that positivity, and maybe you're able to move something from a list in the future onto that day because of that power that you've received. So I want to ask a question a little bit off script, and it's related to this whole idea of letting things happen. I think we all in different ways have been playing with that concept. And that particular paragraph starts off with the concept of the law of entropy, right? And Cindy says that this is the tendency of energy to dissipate, right? And to move from a state of order to disorder. All right. So that if we don't intentionally harness our time and energy, this is what she's saying, unless we command it with authority, our lives will dissolve into a state of chaos. You understand? And that's where at the end she said, don't just let it happen. But the question I wanted to ask, have you ever experienced, anyone here experience chaos in your life? And I'm not talking about having disorder and things not in place, but have you experienced a time of disorder? And if, because, we want to be real about this. And there are persons listening in that, for them it's not about a shirt out of place or a broom out of place, or, it's something a little bit more catastrophic or maybe a little bit more telling in their life. Anybody here has experienced disorder at all or chaos in that way? And if so, I mean, you may not want to get into the detail, but how have you been able to restore that order, especially as it speaking to your circumstances? I'll take any one or two of you sharing. See, you're thinking about it. Renma.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I remember some years ago my life, even though I was getting things done mentally and emotionally, I felt out of order. Um, and that was because I wasn't being true to myself. I was pushing aside my feelings, how I really felt about the situation, because I'm like, oh, you're not supposed to feel like that. Um, and so for me, I come to the understanding that I needed to be selfish in order to be selfless. And what that means is I needed to take care of me a little bit more than I was trying to fix everybody and help everybody and be there for
Right.
everybody.
Yes.
And when I started to figure out that balance and I started to prioritize what I really needed, um, and not just accept what everybody was giving me, because sometimes that's where the chaos comes in. It's not necessarily that we created it, but it's that everybody comes in and brings what they think you need. It's like everybody brings a casserole. You don't need casseroles, you know. Um, And so that your kitchen counter is cluttered and you don't need any of those things. But this is what everybody wants to give you because they're thinking, oh, well, I'm trying to be helpful. So I had to kind of put that boundary, figure out where my boundaries lie, figure out a way to communicate that in a way that wasn't um, to make them feel bad or to make them guilt me into wanting my boundary, wanting my space, wanting what I needed. So it was a process, and you kind of have to play with it a little bit. But I would say, sometimes you need to turn within. Sometimes the chaos
Yeah.
is within, and so you need to go within to kind of get it sorted out before you could do anything on external.
Yes, yes. So that's how you spoke to your situation. I'll take one more. Janine or Chanel, anyone care to share? Have you ever had a time of chaos, and how were you able to restore order?
I had that 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I had to make deliveries to a place that I didn't know. I didn't know Cunupia. And I had to
Okay.
go there and looking for this place, and I'm using Waze. And then from Cunupia, I had to go to Port of Spain. So to get back, now I live in San Fernando. So I'm using Waze to take me from Cunupia to Port of Spain.
Wow.
And I think I put in the wrong directions and it started to direct me home. So now I'm heading down the wrong side of the highway and I'm thinking, how am I going to get back? And I just stopped and I said, listen, organize yourself, calm down, sort your thoughts, sort your ways. And
Yes.
it took me to where I need to
Yes.
go. But I
Yes.
needed to say a prayer like, God, I need your help with this one
Yes.
because
Yes.
whew,
Yes.
that was some chaos there.
Yes. Yeah, I think this is a very it sounds, like something that people say, oh yes, but I think this whole idea of being able, you just have to stop sometimes. Sometimes you're going through a challenge or a difficult situation and you just need to pause. Even if it's a minute, 5 minutes, some of you might be able to do a day or more. You just need to stop and kind of recapture yourself, recalibrate, think about it and begin to speak those words, of positivity into your situation and the word of God into your situation. So I think that's very profound, Janine, that you shared this whole idea of stopping and pausing right before we go again. Anything you care to share, Chanel, before we get into our closing thoughts? It's that time already.
I would say have that purposeful distraction. Our lives are always going to be chaotic, and as Denzel Washington quoted, he said, "Fail big," because from those failures and those chaos, we're going to learn, and we're going to get motivated to know how to handle that challenge another time around.
Yes.
So when it happens, we don't be in a mess, because everybody has
So
that
are you
moment of downhill.
Yeah. So are you advocating then that we have to be like learners? We have to be in that mode where we're learning from every
We
situation,
have to be
even though it's
open
chaotic.
minded to God's word at all times. Be open minded because our way is not always the way. God's way is always the way. So allow Him to
Okay.
do His stuff and take control of whatever
Okay.
we do. And that's how our chaos. Distract yourself purposefully
Mhm.
sometimes because sometimes we might have everything, this goes there, that happens there. And we get so caught up in doing things, but it mightn't be the thing that we need to be doing at that moment. We need to be out
Right.
there doing something for somebody else or be out there saving, it might be saving somebody's life. You don't know what is
Yes.
the purpose. Just allow God word to tune in on us. Take that moment to just listen to it for a time.
Yes.
So that's
But
my
while we
thought.
have you, Chanel, while we have you, any closing thoughts you'd like to add as we wrap up this session on chapter 6?
It's very simple. God is the order of the day. Allow Him to do His bidding in our lives and let it be God's day daily. And then we will get through every circumstance, every situation with Him on our side.
Yes, yes, yes. And we're here. We're all here to tell the story that you can come true. Thank you for sharing, Chanel, and say thanks to the little one for their comments as well for the program. Anyone else care to share their closing thoughts?
Go ahead, Rana.
Um, I just I just want to encourage everybody because, as I listen to Chanel share, if you look at it from on the surface, it seems as though she's saying the opposite of what I said. Um, but I just want to remind everybody every day is not going to be exactly the same. And so we need to be mindful that flexibility sometimes it's very important. And then there are times we need to be rigid, we need to be firm. You know what, I wrote that I'm going to do this today, I am going to do it today. I'm not going to wait, I'm not going to move. So it's just about being attentive,
Yes.
about what do you need, what do the people you are with need, what does this circumstance need, and then making adjustments as needed. So I just want to encourage everybody, every day may not always go the way you plan or you hope. You might have a million emails to send out and then the TNTech pass through and I see any of it, but you could always do something else. Don't just throw the day away. Don't just sit there and be like, oh my gosh. Um,
Yes.
just figure out a way to be flexible as well.
Yes. Thank you very much, Renma. Janine.
I'm just kind of going off of what Renma said because it was close to what I thought as well. Um, don't be afraid to be inflexible. As she said, if lights go, then you have the opportunity to do something else that didn't require electricity, that was just sitting there. Now you have the time to do it. See if you can get it out of the way. And that's one less
Yes.
thing for you to think about and to do. So even in, and it's my dad who says that there's a purpose for everything. So what may look like disorder may be an order for you to get this done. And God made a way for you to get this done. He realized that you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I'm taking everything else away. Get it done.
Yes.
So
Yes.
don't be
Yes.
inflexible.
Thank you for sharing so much, and thank you so much to our empresses. I mean, as I said earlier, I felt like a king among queens. So it was certainly a pleasure sitting in for our hostess, Alina, who's normally here, guiding these discussions. It certainly was a pleasure. And I too would like to share that, remember that God is a God of order, and ultimately, having order in your life is important, as Cindy Trim is saying in this particular chapter, and that maybe you're listening and you're not too sure, you feel things are out of whack. I would certainly encourage you to seek God, to seek out God, to give you that blueprint for your life. He has the blueprint, which gives the order, which orders your words and the words that you speak into your situation. So I certainly want to encourage you to do that. All of those listening in, thank you for tuning in. Thanks again to Renma, Janine, and Chanel, and the little one for being with us. Again, we thank LSC Productions, Alina, LSC Productions, and Launchpad Consultancy for making this possible. And I would say go with God until we see you again on Tuesday for our next edition of Book Club Conversation Series 7. Thank you. Have a blessed night. Bye.